I never thought anything was wrong with him. And run downstairs, and here they come dragging Conway in. Like to kill me. He died that night.
Before her passing, Loretta Lynn left behind more than just timeless music. She left behind whispers, stories, and one confession that no one saw coming. For decades, fans speculated about the deep, almost unbreakable bond she shared with fellow country legend Conway Twitty. Their chemistry on stage was undeniable, their friendship was profound, and their duets felt so heartbreakingly real that people couldn't help but wonder, was there something more? They called each other soulmates in song, and maybe in some way they were. Together, Loretta and Conway defined an era of country music that felt raw, emotional, and human. Songs like Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man, and You're the Reason Our Kids Are Ugly weren't just hits. They were love stories wrapped in melody, filled with a chemistry that made audiences lean in closer every time they sang together. But behind the spotlight, the truth about their relationship was much more complicated. Loretta was married to Doolittle Do Lynn, her husband and lifelong partner, while Conway was also a family man. Yet every time they sang, there was an electricity, a spark that couldn't be ignored, not even by them. Loretta herself once said, "Conway was more than a singing partner. He was a piece of my heart." And in her final years, she finally opened up about what truly connected them. A story that went far beyond friendship, far beyond the music charts. Before she left this world, Loretta Lynn confessed something that changed how fans see both of them forever. It wasn't a scandal. It wasn't gossip. It was the heartbreaking truth about two souls who found something rare, love that couldn't be, but never faded, and what she finally revealed about Conway. Twitty's final words to her still brings tears to the eyes of those who knew them best. When Loretta Lynn first met Conway, Twitty in the early 1970s, she had no idea that their friendship would become one of the most legendary partnerships in country music history. Loretta was already a superstar, known for her fiery personality and songs that spoke to the struggles of real women. Conway, on the other hand, was the smooth-talking crooner who had made the leap from rock and roll to country with incredible success. Their paths crossed during a Nashville music event, just two rising stars with powerful voices and personalities that couldn't have been more different. Loretta was loud, raw, and unfiltered. Conway was calm, calculated, and smooth as silk. Yet the moment they spoke, there was instant chemistry. Not romantic at first, but a connection built on respect and admiration. Conway told her that night, "You sing like you mean every word, Loretta. That's what country music's supposed to be." It was the kind of compliment that stayed with her forever. Loretta later said, "Conway understood my music better than anyone ever did. When their record label paired them for a duet, no one could have predicted what would happen next." Their first song together, After the Fire Is Gone, released in 1971, wasn't just a hit. It was a cultural moment. The song won them a Grammy and turned them into country music's most beloved duo almost overnight. But it wasn't just about the music. When they performed together, it was electric. Their voices blended like they were made for each other. His deep, velvet tone complementing her strong, emotional delivery perfectly. Every glance, every laugh, every shared lyric on stage carried an unspoken connection that fans immediately noticed. People didn't just hear their duets. They felt them. Off stage, their friendship deepened quickly. They toured together, spent long hours on buses, and shared countless conversations about life, love, and fame. Loretta often said that Conway was one of the few people who truly understood her. He didn't judge her for her humble beginnings or her bold opinions. He treated her as an equal, which was rare in the male-dominated world of country music. Loretta's husband, Doolittle Lynn, knew about her partnership with Conway, and while he trusted her, he couldn't ignore the way audiences reacted to them. Tabloids began running headlines about their romantic tension, and fans were convinced that the two were secretly in love. But Loretta always denied that anything inappropriate happened between them. She insisted their relationship was built on friendship, mutual respect, and a shared love for music. Though even she admitted that their connection was something special that doesn't happen twice in a lifetime. Still, Even those closest to them noticed the quiet tenderness between Loretta and Conway. He was protective of her, often stepping in to defend her when others tried to take advantage. She, in turn, became his emotional anchor, the person he called when life got too heavy. They could finish each other's sentences, and when one was struggling, the other was always there. As their fame grew, so did the rumors. But Loretta brushed them off with humor and grace. "If I'd been in love with Conway Twitty," she once joked, "I'd have told the whole world. I ain't one to keep my mouth shut." But deep down, those who truly knew her said she carried a quiet affection for Conway that went beyond friendship. They may not have been lovers, but they were soulmates in a way that only music can explain. Together, they recorded 10 studio albums, scored 5 #1 hits, and redefined what a country duo could be. But beneath the laughter and applause, there was a growing emotional bond, one that would carry through the rest of their lives, even after Conway's tragic passing. What neither of them knew then was that the connection they built, the love wrapped in loyalty, respect, and music, would become one of the most enduring stories in country music history. And years later, when Loretta finally spoke about Conway after his death, she revealed emotions she had hidden for decades, including one heartbreaking truth she had never said out loud until her final years. Loretta Lynn and Conway. Twitty shared something that transcended ordinary friendship, a bond so magnetic that fans, and even close friends, couldn't help but wonder if there was something deeper behind their famous duets. From the moment they recorded their first song together, the chemistry was undeniable. When Loretta sang alongside Conway, her voice seemed to soften, her laughter came easier, and her eyes carried a warmth that told a story words couldn't capture. Their partnership began in the early 1970s, when both were already established stars in country music. Loretta, the coal miner's daughter, was celebrated for her fearless songwriting, unafraid to sing about love, heartbreak, and the struggles of being a woman in a man's world. Conway, on the other hand, had transitioned from rock and roll to country, becoming one of the genre's most beloved crooners. Their collaboration was a match made in musical heaven. Together, they recorded a string of hits that would become country music staples: Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man, After the Fire Is Gone, and Lead Me On, to name a few. Each song carried an undercurrent of passion that felt far too real to be just performance. Fans across the country speculated that the two were secretly in love, and to this day, many still believe there was something unspoken between them. Loretta and Conway always laughed off the rumors. In interviews, Loretta would insist that Conway was like a brother to her. "The one man I could always trust," she'd often say. But anyone who saw them perform could sense the affection. On stage, their eyes locked in a way that told 1,000 untold stories. There was admiration, respect, and perhaps even love, though the kind that could never fully blossom because life had written them different fates. Their bond went beyond the music. They shared a rare kind of loyalty, the kind that's nearly extinct in show business. Conway often looked out for Loretta, protecting her from the rough edges of fame. When she struggled with exhaustion or health scares, he was always there, quietly, without headlines or applause. Loretta once revealed in her memoir that there were moments when she leaned on Conway more than anyone else in her life. He wasn't just her duet partner. He was her emotional anchor, but while their connection was pure and powerful, it was also complicated. Loretta was married to Oliver Doolittle Lynn, a man whose love for her was as fiery as it was tumultuous. Their marriage had endured countless trials: infidelity, drinking, and long separations due to touring. Yet through it all, Loretta remained loyal. That loyalty, however, came at a price. It meant that whatever she and Conway truly felt for each other could never be fully acknowledged. As years went by, their friendship deepened. They continued to record and tour together, and their audiences never tired of seeing them side by side. Conway once said in an interview, "When Loretta and I sing together, something just clicks. It's like we don't have to try, it's just there." And indeed it was. Their harmony wasn't just vocal, and it was spiritual. But behind that magic was a quiet sadness. Loretta later admitted that she missed him deeply when they weren't performing together. When Conway suddenly passed away in 1993 from an abdominal aneurysm, Loretta was shattered. She was reportedly one of the first to arrive at the hospital, only to learn that he was gone. She later said, "Part of me went with Conway that day." Years later, Loretta would finally open up more about what he truly meant to her. While she never confirmed that they were romantically involved, she did confess that Conway was the only man who ever truly understood her without judgment. "He was my best friend in the world," she said softly in one interview. "We just loved each other. Maybe not the way people thought, but we did." It was a truth she carried with her until her final days. The kind of love that doesn't fade, even when life moves on. And before she left this world, Loretta made sure people knew just how special Conway had been. Not as a scandal, but as a soul connection she would never forget. As the years went on, Loretta Lynn continued to carry the memory of Conway Twitty in her heart. Every time she stepped on stage and sang one of their duets, her voice seemed to tremble just a little. Not from age, but from the emotion that still lingered within her. For Loretta, Conway was never truly gone. His presence was woven into her songs, her laughter, and the silence she kept whenever his name came up in interviews. But as Loretta grew older and her health began to fade, she started to open up in a way she never had before. She wanted to leave behind the truth. Not the gossip or speculation, but the honest story of what she and Conway truly shared. In her later interviews, and especially in private conversations with family and close friends, Loretta began revealing just how deep her bond with Conway really was. She confessed that there were moments when she and Conway were tempted to cross that invisible line between friendship and something more. "There were feelings," she admitted quietly, "and we both knew it, but we also knew we couldn't act on them." Loretta explained that both of them had too much respect for each other, and for their families, to ever let it go too far. "It wasn't about romance," she said. "It was about something deeper, something spiritual. He was my soulmate in music." That word, soulmate, was one Loretta used carefully. She didn't mean it in the traditional sense, but in a way that reflected a connection of minds and hearts. She said Conway brought out the best in her, that he saw her not as a superstar, but as the simple coal miner's daughter she had always been. "He never treated me like I was famous," she once said. "He treated me like Loretta, and that's why I loved him." When Loretta lost Conway in 1993, it was more than just losing a duet partner. It was like losing a piece of her own soul. For weeks, she refused to do interviews. She couldn't even listen to the songs they had recorded together. Her friends described her as broken, a woman who seemed to have lost her spark. But even through that heartbreak, she found comfort in believing that Conway was still watching over her. She once shared a touching story that gave fans chills. Loretta said that not long after Conway's passing, she was alone at her ranch when she felt his presence. "I was sitting there thinking about him," she said softly, "and I swear I could hear him singing. It was 'Hello, Darlin',' just faintly, like it was coming from another room." Whether it was a dream, a memory, or something beyond this world, Loretta said she took it as a sign that Conway was still with her. In her later years, as she faced health struggles and spent more time at home, Loretta spoke often about Conway in a tone that mixed both love and regret. "I wish I'd told him how much he meant to me," she confessed in one rare interview. "Not just as a singer or a partner, but as a person. He was one of the good ones, the kind you never get over." When Loretta's health declined sharply in her final year, her family said she became reflective, spending hours reminiscing about her music, her children, and the people who shaped her life. One of those names that kept coming up was Conway Twitty. According to a close family source, Loretta told them before she passed, "If I could see Conway one more time, I'd tell him thank you. For everything. For loving me in his own way." It was perhaps the closest she ever came to admitting what the world had always suspected, that their connection went beyond friendship, beyond music, and beyond time. Loretta's final confession wasn't about scandal. It was about truth. The truth that love comes in many forms, and sometimes The deepest kind doesn't need to be spoken aloud. When she finally passed away in October 2022, fans flooded social media with tributes not just for Loretta Lynn, but for the timeless duo she formed with Conway Twitty. Their music remains a testament to the bond they shared, two hearts that found harmony in a world that rarely allows it. And even now, every time Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man plays on the radio, you can still feel it. That unspoken love that never truly faded. Even after death. After Loretta Lynn's passing in October 2022, the world didn't just mourn a country music legend, it mourned the closing of a chapter that had defined an era. For decades, Loretta and Conway Twitty had embodied a kind of magic that country music rarely sees anymore. Their harmonies, chemistry, and authenticity stood as proof that real artistry can't be manufactured. It comes from the soul. When word spread about Loretta's private confession, her heartfelt acknowledgement of how deep her feelings for Conway truly were, fans were both heartbroken and moved. It wasn't a scandal. It was a love story that had waited too long for its ending. Country music historians called it one of the most touching revelations in modern country history, a glimpse into the heart of a woman who had always sung from truth, even when that truth hurt. Loretta's children later shared that she spent her final years surrounded by memories of the people she loved, family photos, handwritten lyrics, and keepsakes from her long career. But one object stood out most of all, a framed photo of her and Conway, taken backstage in the late 70s. She kept it on her nightstand, her daughter Patsy said softly. She said that picture reminded her of the happiest times in her life. Those who were close to Loretta said she never let a day go by without speaking Conway's name. She talked about how his laughter filled every room, how he could make her smile no matter what, and how deep down she knew they shared something pure. Even though their relationship was bound by respect and restraint, Loretta often admitted that Conway had a permanent place in her heart. When asked in one of her last interviews how she'd like to be remembered, Loretta didn't mention fame, awards, or money. Instead, she said, "I want people to remember that I loved honestly. I sang about life as it is, the good, the bad, and the love you never forget." Those words hit differently after her passing, especially when fans revisited her duets with Conway. Every note, every smile exchanged on stage, it all seemed to hold a secret, one that only the two of them truly understood. In the years following Loretta's death, tributes poured in from artists across generations. Carrie Underwood, Reba McEntire, and Dolly Parton all spoke about how Loretta had shaped not only country music, but also the emotional honesty of storytelling. Yet it was Conway's family who offered one of the most moving statements. His daughter, Kathy Twitty, said, "My dad loved Loretta deeply, not in the way people think, but in the way only two kindred spirits can. They brought out the best in each other, and that's something eternal." That sentiment echoed across the country world. In 2023, the Country Music Hall of Fame honored both Conway and Loretta with a special exhibit titled Two Voices, One Heart. The display featured stage costumes, photos, handwritten lyrics, and a recording of one of their most famous duets, "After the Fire Is Gone." Visitors often reported leaving the exhibit